Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the guy who spent his entire life looking for the Infinity Stones.
How do you have these?
Oh, we actually got a lot of those. Some of the guys use them as paperweights.
What? Now Loki episode 1 has a lot going on with it, and after our big Easter egg breakdown yesterday, there's been a couple more details I found that I think are worth going over. This includes what could be a Peggy Carter sighting, how the show sets up Doctor Strange 2, and a lot more. Now if you haven't had a chance to check out the episode yet, then I highly suggest you erase this video from your timeline and come back when you have. Make sure you drop a thumbs up if you like the theories, and don't forget to subscribe for a variety of videos for people who have too much time on their hands. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into the Easter egg breakdown. Okay, so after Loki steals Mobius and Mobius's time twister, he warps back to the lobby of the TVA. In the background we see someone being brought in, and the internet has been going absolutely wild with speculation over whether this is Peggy Carter or not. The first person who sent me this was Wallow Cassette on Twitter, so shoutouts them, but I'm actually erasing them from the timeline to claim that I found it because I'm an absolute egomaniac. Now I've been like the TVA and working overtime watching this clip almost on a loop all day to see if it's her or not. I'd recognise Hayley Atwell anywhere, and though this clip is too blurry to see, I do think that it is a different actress. However, we do know from the show that there are different versions of Loki walking around, so potentially this could also be an alternate version of Peggy Carter. Her dress and hair are quite similar to things that we've seen Peggy wearing before, and her clothes look like they come from the 40s. Now why the TVA might be after her is because the Russo brothers confirmed that, at the end of Endgame, Steve travelled back in time to have a life with her, and this was somewhat a dance with the devil. It created an alternate timeline in which Steve was well aware of the events of the MCU, and the butterfly effect of this action would have drastically altered Peggy's life. Peggy was of course a founding member of S.H.I.E.L.D., and thus her having even a minor change could have had disastrous consequences for reality. The TVA as a whole clearly worshipped the idea of one timeline, and in the comics their entire existence was built around stopping alternate branches that had been sprung up. This would mean that an alternate version of Peggy, who would go on to have Steve's children and live a life with him, would be considered a dangerous offshoot, and thus she is someone that would be a target for them. Now Steve Rogers has the super soldier serum within him, and he's one of the best hand-to-hand fighters in the MCU that we've met so far. I really think that the TVA would have difficulty taking him in, and thus they might turn to Peggy instead, as she'd be a lot easier. We know from various reports that Chris Evans is supposed to be coming back to reprise his role as Captain America, and I would absolutely love it in a film if we picked up right after that dance with his life in the 50s, only to have it all taken away. Yes, I'm a sick bastard. Now bear in mind, we don't really see any more of Cap's life between the dance and him meeting Sam at the bench, so things may not have been as happy as they seem. If this is Peggy, I'd absolutely love it if she was taken prisoner, and the show culminated with Loki bringing down the TVA, which allowed her to return to her life with Steve. For whatever reason, their timeline seems to remain untouched, so someone or something has clearly stopped the TVA from destroying it. Now shoutouts to my buddy over at Superhero Nexus for recently theorising that this could also be the Captain Britain version of Peggy from What If. In that series we're going to be exploring events from the MCU with the possibility that certain things happen differently. We know that there will be an episode focused heavily around Peggy, in which she ends up taking the super soldier serum instead of Steve. Potentially, this could lead to the TVA stepping in and taking her from the reality at the end of it so that it doesn't create a branch timeline. I can't really see that being how the cartoon series ends, but you know, we're just theorising here, so shut the hell up. Now in the lobby of the TVA, we also see a Skrull in a tracksuit who could potentially be pulled from a What If episode. I think it would be great if throughout the series we encounter several different people in the TVA HQ that all come from the show, and this Skrull itself might even be from the Hawkeye series. It has been reported that the tracksuit mafia will be showing up in the first season, and with the Skrull wearing one, it is possible that he may have been a member. Those are just theories for now, but I don't think it's a secret to say that the multiverse is coming down the line, with several actors and characters returning for Spider-Man No Way Home, and also the fact that Doctor Strange 2 has the subtitle in the Multiverse of Madness attached to it. That lets us know that everything, it's gonna go to hell. Yay! Now speaking of hell, you know who rules over hell. Interestingly, there was actually a big hint towards this in the Ms. Minutes infomercial that talked about how the TVA operate. She actually used the words madness and the phrase in the multiverse to perhaps hint towards the upcoming film, which this will no doubt have serious ramifications on. When discussing Phase 4 of the MCU, Kevin Feige stated that WandaVision, Loki, No Way Home, and In the Multiverse of Madness will all be connected, and this could be the offshoot that breaks the multiverse in those films. It's all connected. Now with What If, Peggy Carter potentially being there, and all the issues that are coming down the line, I really think that the show could either end one of two ways. We may get the TVA simply returning Loki to where he was after a couple of life lessons, and then instead of picking up the Tesseract, he just lets it go. This would allow the timeline to continue as normal, but it would also enable him to plan for his death in Infinity War, and as we all know, he's used doubles before to fake it. This prior knowledge wouldn't really alter the timeline, but it would allow for him to still come back in the future. Now the other option, which I think is a lot more fun, is that he and the other Loki variants help to break the multiverse. This will end the show on a big cliffhanger of what could be, and also get us hyped for what's around the corner. Personally, that's the way I'd love to see it go, and the warnings of a multiversal war, they were clearly put in place to hint towards what happens when everything goes haywire. If you're a fan of Marvel Comics, you will be aware that Secret Wars pretty much dealt with a range of realities fighting for dominance, and the arc contains several versions of characters. I know a lot of my followers are DC fans though, so just think Crisis on Infinite Earths, and you get the idea. Now other Easter eggs I've noticed since rewatching the episode are that the Tesseract is much more dimmer in the TVA headquarters than it was in the main timeline. When we first see it at the start of the episode, it's glowing bright blue, but this is slowly diminished over time, and eventually it just looks like a regular cube that you'd get at a gift shop. It originally emanates a noise that sounds like a high-pitched choir, but when Loki discovers that there's several versions of the Infinity Stones kept in a drawer, this dies down, showing its lack of power. Now there's been lots of questions over how they managed to get so many of them, and shoutouts Ryan Airy from Screen Crush for saying that these all likely come from timelines that have since been erased. In Avengers Endgame, we learned that removing one could have had disastrous effects, but the TVA don't seem like the sentimental type, and they have no problem completely eliminating timelines from existence should they not see them fit to continue. Potentially, in these other realities, someone could have picked up an Infinity Stone, and they may have been brought in with it on their body. Loki at the start of the episode is taken in carrying the Space Stone, so it makes sense that other ones could have came to the TVA through the exact same circumstances. Anyway, that's pretty much most of the new things that I spotted, but I will be back over the weekend with a video breaking down not only the TVA, but also the Timekeepers and Mobius M. Mobius. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on these theories in the comments below. Remember, this probably isn't Peggy, but you've watched to the end of the video now, and it's always fun to speculate these kinds of things between the weekly releases. Now as a thank you for interacting with the video, you'll be entered into a prize draw on the 30th of June, in which we're giving away 3 copies of the Phase 3 MCU box set. All you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. The winners of last month's competition are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our full breakdown of the episode, which will be linked on screen right now. We pointed out pretty much all the Easter eggs, had a lot of fun reviewing it, and it's definitely worth checking out if you're bored and just want something else to watch. With that out of the way, thank you for sitting through the video. I've been Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.